By the end of next year, the NATO combat mission in Afghanistan is scheduled to be over. And by then, the Obama administration expects to have brought home most, if not all, U.S. troops.
So that means after years of multiple deployments, those units coming home now likely won't have to return. We were in Georgia this past week to greet a group of returning soldiers who we met in Afghanistan last fall as they and their families face a welcome new reality. For as long as most of these soldiers have been in the Army, homecomings have meant they would soon be preparing to go back to war.
I'm used to coming home and hurry up and getting back into training.
Tearful greetings would before long become tearful goodbyes.
It really hits you at night when you go to bed alone.
After 5 deployments since 2003, 4 to Iraq and 1 this past year to Afghanistan, the Army's 3rd Infantry Division has just returned home to Fort Stewart, Georgia. And with the U.S. planning to largely pull out of Afghanistan by the end of next year, it appears this division won't be going back anytime soon.
So now they can take time for themselves. They can take advantage of going to school. They can take the opportunity for their family to settle down and be stabilized.
We were with elements of the 3rd ID in Kandahar last fall. It's where I first met Captain Steve Nepawada as he led his troops in search of Taliban rocket emplacements. Now back in Georgia after 2 deployments to Afghanistan, Nepawada, like the Army as a whole, is in transition.
Before, our priorities were being successful at war, being successful in our mission, and now my job is essentially the same, but we're focused on a doctrinal readiness.
As the returning troops learn how to reintegrate into life stateside, so do their spouses. How do you feel about maybe having them around for a while?
I would love it. I would really love it.
Did you worry a lot when he was over there?
I did. I had problems sleeping at night.
I tried not to tell her too much about Afghanistan. I would just try to keep in contact with her to let her know I'm okay.
On this last deployment, the 3rd ID was focused on training Afghan forces. Major General Robert Abrams, who until this week commanded the division, says their mission was successful.
They've done an incredible amount, and they have sacrificed tremendous, both they and their families.
But success came at a price.
Bryant Luxmore, he's out of 164 Armor. He was killed in southern Afghanistan.
At Fort Stewart, along rows of trees dedicated to the more than 460 3rd ID members lost over the last decade, General Abrams reflects on his soldiers who didn't come home.
When you lose soldiers under your command, it's personal and it stays with you forever.
Americans are still dying in Afghanistan, 85 so far this year. And even as Captain Steve Nepawada settles into life stateside, a part of him will remain over there until the last soldier comes home.
They're still doing a mission. What's frustrating for me is when it seems like no one back here really understands that soldier is still trying to complete a mission, and he gave his life to complete that mission.
Completing that mission in southern Afghanistan, where the 3rd ID has operated the past year, is the 4th Infantry Division out of Colorado. They took over regional command responsibilities there last month. And we don't know what life is going to look like at the end of 2014. The combat mission comes to an end. The administration's still debating whether to pull out all U.S. troops, maybe leave a few thousand there. That's all to be worked out.
It was a great piece. It's always nice, too, to see that follow through and see what happens. I mean, you imagine the relief as you got into a little bit, but there's also, I'm sure, a little bit of apprehension as you try to figure out and navigate
what's
this
next.
new normal.
Yeah, I mean, they're happy to be back. I mean, there are still a few members of the 3rd ID who have been on all 5 deployments, the 4 to Iraq and 1 to Afghanistan. You know, some of them have only done 2, 3, but we've still lost an awful lot of folks in uniform over the last
and their families
12 years.
as well. It's true. It's a nice piece.